All right, chapter 18 is called April Winds. If it was unseasonably warm in Boston, it was actually hot in New York. In their rooms at the Great Tower Hotel overlooking Central Park, the penguins were feeling the heat badly. Mr. Popper took them to the roof garden to catch whatever cool breeze might be blowing. The penguins were all charmed by the sparkling lights and the confusion of the city below. The younger birds crowded over the edge of the roof and looked down at the great canyons beneath them. It made Mr. Popper very nervous to see them shoving each other, as if at any moment they might succeed in pushing one over. He remembered how the South Pole penguins always did this to find out what danger lay below. The roof was not a safe place for the penguins either. Mr. Popper had never forgotten how badly frightened he had been when Captain Cook had been so ill before Greta came. He could not risk the chance of losing one of his penguins now. Where the penguins were concerned, nothing was ever too much trouble for him. He took them downstairs again and bathed them under cool showers in the bathroom. This kept him busy a large part of the night. With all this lack of sleep, he was quite drowsy the next morning when he had called the taxi to get him to the theater. Besides, Mr. Popper had always been a little absent-minded. This is how he made his great mistake. When he said to the first taxi driver, "Regal Theater." "Yes, sir," said the taxi driver, treading his way in and out of traffic of Broadway, which greatly interested both the children and the penguins. They had almost reached the theater when the driver suddenly turned. "Say," he said, "you don't mean to say those penguins are going to be on the same bill as the Swenson Seals, do you?" Why would it maybe be a problem for seals and penguins to be performing at the same theater at the same time? Do you know what seals eat? Seals eat penguins. "I don't know what else is on the bill," said Mr. Popper, paying attention. "Anyway, here's the Regal," and they piled out and filed into the stage entrance. In the wing stood a large, burly, red-faced man. "So these are the Poppers performing penguins, huh?" he said. "Well, I want to tell you, Mr. Popper, that I'm Swen Swenson, and those are my seals in there on stage now, and if your birds try any funny business, it'll be too bad for them. My seals are tough. They'd think nothing of eating 2 or 3 penguins apiece." From the stage could be heard the hoarse barks of the seals who were going through their act. "Papa," said Mrs. Popper, "the penguins are the last act on the bill. Go run back quick and get those taxis, and we'll let the penguins ride around a while until it's their time to do their number." Mr. Popper hurried out to catch the drivers. When he returned, it was too late. The Popper performing penguins had already discovered the Swenson seals. "Papa, I can't look," cried the children. There was a sound of dreadful confusion on the stage, and the audience was in an uproar, and the curtain was quickly rung down. When the Poppers rushed onto the stage, both penguins and seals had found their stairway leading to the Swensons' dressing room and were on their way upstairs. "I couldn't bear to think what's happening up there," said Mr. Popper with a shudder. Mr. Swenson only laughed. "I hope your birds were insured, Mr. Popper," he said. "How much were they worth? Let's go up and look." "You go up, Papa," said Mrs. Popper. "Bill, you run out of the theater and call the police to come and try to save some of our penguins." "I'll go get the fire department," said Janie. When the firemen with a great clanging came and set up their ladders so that they could get in through the window Mr. Swenson's dressing room, they were a little vexed to find that there was no fire at all. However, they found 6 black mustache seals sitting barking in the middle of the room, with 12 penguins parading around them in a square. They felt better. Then the policemen came in their patrol and climbed up the ladder which the firemen had left against the window of the building. By the time they too came through the window, they could scarcely believe their eyes, for the firemen had put fire helmets on the penguins, which made the delightful birds, look so silly. Seeing the firemen so friendly with the penguins, the policemen naturally took sides with the seals and put their police caps on them. The seals looked very fierce with their long black mustaches, black faces underneath. The penguins, under their fire helmets, were parading in front of the policemen, while the seals in their police caps were barking at the firemen when Mr. Popper and Mr. Swenson finally opened the door. So we got our seals in the policeman hat and our penguins in the firefighter's hat. So far, no penguins have been eaten. Mr. Popper sat down. His relief was so great that moment when he saw all 12 penguins that he could not speak. "You policemen had better get your hands off my seals now," said Mr. Swenson. "I gotta go on stage and finish the act." Then he and his 6 seals slipped out of the room with a few parting barks. "Well, goodbye, ducks," said the firemen, regretfully removing their helmets from the penguins and putting them back on their own heads. Then they disappeared down the ladder. The penguins, of course, wanted to follow, but Mr. Popper held them back. Just then, the door flew open and the theater manager burst into the room. "Hold that man!" he shouted to the police, pointing at Mr. Popper. "I have a warrant for his arrest." "Me?" said Mr. Popper in a daze. "What have I done?" "You've broken into my theater and thrown this place into a panic. That's what you've done. You've disturbed the peace." "But I'm Mr. Popper these are my performing penguins, famous from coast to coast. I don't care who you are. You haven't any business in my theater." "But Mr. Greenbaum is going to pay us $5,000 for a week at the Regal." "Mr. Greenbaum's theater is the Royal Theater, not the Regal Theater. You've come to the wrong theater. Anyways, out you go, you and your performing penguins. The patrol is waiting outside." So after all that, he went to the wrong theater. All right, the question for you to answer here is, why is the theater manager so angry with Mr. Popper? Okay, so we know he went to the wrong theater, but even more than that, why is he angry with him? What happened because he went to the wrong theater? Okay, go ahead, answer 18, and then Thursday you'll read 19 and 20 and see how Mr. Popper's Penguins ends. I hope you enjoyed it.